2-on-2. Ready, break.
Hello and welcome back to Two in the Huddle. My name, as always, is David, and this is my very good friend, Shadi. Shadi,
Hello.
how was your weekend? What'd you get up to? Talk to some people.
I've been away again. Of course.
Shock.
Yeah, exactly. This time at my partner's family's place, where we watched the eclipse in Spain. I don't know if people out there know about this, but there was a once-in-a-lifetime kind of event this last week in Spain where you could see the eclipse. It was a fascinating event, super cool. And yeah, we just used the chance to stay a bit longer at her family's place,
Nice.
and then returned after that. Yeah.
I did not watch the eclipse.
You did not watch the eclipse? Why?
No, I didn't get the glasses in time. I found out about it too late. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's cool, but it's not going to change my life. I saw some really over the top people crying and hyperventilating on the internet, and I thought,
you're not really this kind of outside guy, are you? Anyway, so
that's not going to change your life, dude. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's
it was
been
cool.
happening for
It
a
was
long
cool.
time.
I mean, even if you don't see the actual sun thing, even without that, it's quite cool to see how it just suddenly dark for a minute or so.
Yeah.
And all the colors are all super, almost surreal. The shades look different. Everything is a bit as if you're in a dream, or I don't know. It's quite poetic, to be honest, man. But nothing that you couldn't see in a video game.
It's not hyperventilating on Instagram, cool.
No,
it's not crying,
no.
change your life. I mean, this is me being a hater.
No.
If you went to see the eclipse, cool. I was
It's
in
not-
Go on.
It's not the Cleveland Browns winning the Super Bowl level.
Yeah. Now that is something worth seeing. I was in an Asian restaurant named Rabata, and if you are in Barcelona and ever want to eat good sushi, Rabata is the place to go. But no, I'm good too. It was a good weekend, a little bit of paddle, watching some of the preseason games, but not really watching some of the preseason games because they don't mean much to me, and it annoys me a lot. The championship started in England, the second division of soccer, English football. So I watched a couple of games of that. The Community Shield was on Sunday, so that was a good game as well. So good weekend. Happy to be here as well again Monday as we continue our roll onto the division breakdowns. We are a couple of weeks away from the season starting, or a few weeks away. So that's getting really close and getting really exciting. Last week, we touched on the AFC West. And this week, we will be tackling the AFC East. So that is your Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, Buffalo Bills, and New England Patriots. So before we crack into our side of things, let us know in the comments, if you're here with us, how you think these teams are going to line up and how do you think the division is going to form. Today, we are going to continue our breakdown. So as we've been doing the last few weeks, we're going to take a team each. We are then at the end going to give our prediction of where we think the division will fall. And again, you can let us know in the comments if you think we are smart or idiots. That is completely up to you and the rest of the internet. So, Shadi, as far as who goes first for this week, I believe I went first last week, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to throw the ball to you to start with. Where it is you want to take us to begin?
It's me today, and I want to take you first down memory lane. Everyone that's watching the video instead of listening to us on audio only, maybe you remember one of these. Does that mean anything to you? Is it nostalgic?
Yeah, that's class.
It makes me feel like we always got these in the summer after playing football. So it makes me Capri Sun. Yeah. We're going to start off with the New York Jets. They had a disastrous season in 2025. Just to give a quick summary of where they stand. They ended 3-14 in 2025 in the first season under Aaron Glenn, their new head coach, who was before the defensive coordinator with the Lions, I believe.
Yep.
And they were in a rebuild anyway, so we didn't think that they would be super successful, but they did much worse than everyone expected. And especially on defense, which is Aaron Glenn's kind of expertise and specialty. And they were very bad on defense. Yeah. So surprisingly enough, we're going into the season of 2026 looking at not necessarily a rebuild anymore, but everything, all the moves they made in this offseason, all the coordinator changes that they made, looks like Aaron Glenn trying to save his job and trying to turn around things quickly rather than in a long-term project. So that's a bit surprising. They went literally from a rebuild team to a team that needs to deliver, not playoffs or anything like that, but needs to at least look solid. So that's where we stand at the moment. That's the narrative here. How are they trying to achieve that? And what are those things that they have changed? I think the better question would be, what have they not changed? There's so much to go through here. Yeah. So please interrupt me if I lose you at any point. Let's start with the offense, Dave. Okay, the offense is being built around, let's say, experience and physicality, rather than trying to create some kind of very quarterback-centric attack. And frankly, they can't really create a quarterback-centric offense because their new quarterback is Geno Smith, 35-year-old Geno Smith, who just comes out of his probably worst season since he had a bit of a resurgence with the Seahawks, and then he went to the Raiders and had again one of a very bad season, and so now he's their new quarterback of the Jets, taking over from Justin Fields, who shed the bed last season. So new quarterback, also new offensive coordinator and play caller, Frank Reich. He might be a known name to some of you or many of you because he's in the NFL since forever in different capacities. So Frank Reich, let's look a little bit more into Frank Reich and what that offensive coordinator change means before we look at the individual offensive player changes. He, like I said, has a lot of experience, 20 years of coaching. He was 14 years as an NFL player as well, worked 4 years as offensive coordinator, 6 years as head coach. Yeah. And he has experience working with quarterbacks like Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Andrew Luck, and Carson Wentz. So really a who's who of good quarterbacks. So he comes with a wealth of experience. He stands for, let's say, he's not necessarily this kind of scheme specialist. So these kind of people like Sean McVay, Shanahan, the kind of people that that they're going to get creative with their schemes, that they follow one philosophy of how they want to play. Instead, he's this kind of coach that works through what we call situational football. So meaning you don't have one very strict scheme, but you select in the right moment. You adapt to the right moment, basically. You adapt to what's happening in the game and then change your scheme around that. It's a bit old school, to be honest. Yeah. Some other coaches that follow this kind of philosophy are maybe people like Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh. So very, very big names. I like to compare it a little bit with what Carlo Ancelotti is doing in football also. Yeah. Okay. So not like super tactics focused or something like this, but instead, vibes focused. But I mean, Frank Reich, you cannot compare him with those successful people like Andy Reid, Bill Belichick. So
not quite the same.
And he doesn't have the same player material either. So when you don't have the player material, sometimes it works better to be a scheme specialist. Also, there's some reason to be pessimistic about Frank Reich because, he is a bit old school. He didn't have so much success as a head coach recently. Well, so much success. It was really a disaster, his recent head coach jobs. He was a good OC, though. He was successful as an offensive coordinator. So that can give some reason for optimism. And what he likes to achieve is basically he wants to run the football first, use multiple tight ends as well. He said that himself. And then only as based on the run game and then on the tight ends, then based on that, open up the passing options. So that's what he wants to achieve. It's not the most inspiring offensive coordinator change, but as I said, it's this kind of change that signals that Aaron Glenn wants to save his job, gets in someone experienced that takes care of the offense and let Aaron Glenn focus on the defense. Because the previous coordinator was a really unexperienced offensive coordinator. So this is really a signal of it doesn't need to be inspiring, it just needs to be good enough to let me sort out the defense.
You got some grown-ups, adults in the room, even though they might be more drunk uncles, but they're still adults.
Exactly. I love it. That's good. So quarterback, let's go through the offensive options now. What has changed? Quarterback now Geno Smith instead of Justin Fields. We already mentioned that. And they also drafted Kate Klubnik as a developmental rookie. He probably doesn't start many games this year. He's more of a lottery ticket. They picked him in the 4th round. Won't go too deep into that. But Geno Smith is the clear starter that came. Again, you wouldn't get a Geno Smith into a team that's in a rebuild. So again, getting Geno Smith, 35-year-old veteran, is about raising the floor of the offense, getting someone experienced in there, someone that can just let the offense tick along and operate well enough for Aaron Glenn to sort out his job. So not rebuild mode anymore. He has shown in between 22 and 24 in Seattle that he can be a starting quarterback, but then at Vegas, he, like we already said, didn't do very well last season. But that whole Vegas team was honestly crap. We talked about it last week in the AFC West preview. It wasn't good. So how much of that is on Geno Smith? We don't know yet. He was behind a bad O-line. He didn't have any weapons to throw to except for Brock Bowers. He was under pressure a lot. That could change with the Jets.
Yeah, he knows
That
at
could
least he knows the area. He knows how to get to the training
That's another thing.
facility. Like he knows
That's
these
true.
kind of things, right?
They drafted him. Jets drafted him, so it's also a bit of a comeback story here.
Exactly.
It's a nice storyline. So yeah, I said he might be in better circumstances than last season with the Raiders, and a big reason for that are the foundations that are already there on offense. Garrett Wilson on wide receiver 1, primary target. That's a maybe top 10 receiver in the NFL, or top 20, let's say, but someone that is a very, very strong weapon. In his first 3 seasons, he always had more than 1,000 yards. Last season, he didn't have more than 1,000 yards, but he only played 7 games. So if he can stay healthy, this is a serious weapon and a good core at receiver. Then on receiver, they got Adonai Mitchell. He's a very young receiver, 23-year-old, enters his 3rd season, and can add a little bit of vertical and big play threat. You're kind of outside receiver that should win 1v1. He came as part of the Sauce Gardner trade with the Colts that we've criticized a lot. He's a bit of a bet. I actually have him in my fantasy team, Adonai Mitchell, because he was ascending. He was having good science with the Jets when he played the second half of the season. He caught 24 passes for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, 12.5 yards per reception. So good science there. But I mean, he's still 23-year-old, so we have to see how much of that is constant. And then you have Omar Cooper Jr., who's a first-round pick. Could even be that Omar Cooper is starting immediately. Let's see how the preseason goes. But in training camp reporting, it has shown that he's competing with Adonai Mitchell at the moment. So that's the right receiver room. It's looking good. It's a good core. It's a solid foundation. And that's what this year is about for the Jets, right? Raising that floor, giving a solid foundation to what they're doing on offense. Tight ends. This is more and more of the interesting groups. Also here, a lot of things changed because they drafted Kenyon Sadiq.
Yes.
I think also first round.
Yeah.
You liked that, didn't you?
I like it because it's like a Kyle Pitts kind of Brock Bowersy kind of pick. Like it's an offensive pick. It's not a defensive blocking tight end, which you obviously wouldn't take in the first round at all. But I think it gives them another option. Pair that with a good running back now and a number 1 receiver. You've got to defend them at multiple levels now. So I like it a lot. I mean, I like him a lot.
He's a receiving tight end, definitely. And he's very athletic for a tight end. Very, very athletic. So it's almost like another receiving option, as you say. And they already have Mason Taylor as well, who was the 2nd round pick last season. He was a productive rookie last season. So that gives them 2 hopefully reliable receiving options on tight end as well. And that plays well into the hands of Frank Reich again, because he already said that he wanted to use 12 personnel, so 2 tight ends, potentially even 13 personnel, so 3 tight ends, to give some interesting possibilities in the run game and on receiving. So then you have Kenyon Sadiq, who's new. You got Mason Taylor, Adonai Mitchell, Omar Cooper, and Garrett Wilson. So it should give you a level of versatility if everything works out well. I mean, if you take, for example, Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor together, the two tight ends, and then also have Garrett Wilson in the formation as well, the opposing team they have to decide basically. They don't know now, is this a running formation because of 2 tight ends, or is Sadiq going to go into the slot to receive the ball, or are they going to throw it to Garrett Wilson? So it allows you a very versatile offense again, a bit more than last season.
I agree.
And to top it all off, that was already very positive, but to top it all off, running back, Breece Hall.
Yeah.
He got paid,
big
extension, entering his 5th NFL season. Is also one of the best, or supposedly one of the best running backs in the league. I think it was his first 1,000-yard rushing season in 2025, if I'm not wrong.
I mean, we can double check, but it wouldn't surprise me because he hasn't had a lot of good blocking. He's also had trouble with injuries as well.
Yes.
They've had, again, this is the problem, right? Justin Fields was your quarterback for so long, or even Zach Wilson before him. You're going to be able to key on the rush, right? So it's hard to be a running back on a shitty team sometimes because you're going to get the ball a lot, but people aren't defending the receivers. They don't think that you're going to throw the ball anyway, so they just come at you and run downhill. So that's
exactly.
That's a tough one to deal with, you know.
And that changes now. With 2 tight end options, 2 serious tight end options if Kenyon Sadiq is successful, with Garrett Wilson back and healthy. So there's reason for optimism in this offense, even with Frank Reich as offensive coordinator. Yeah. And even the last and maybe the biggest reason for optimism is the O-line, because they are solid. Like they stuck together. It's the same O-line as last season. I think they only lost John Simpson on left guard and replaced him with Dylan Parham, which is a like-for-like replacement, maybe even a bit of an upgrade. But that O-line, the strength of this O-line is continuity. And there's a lot of young talent in there. And they only had to replace one player. So that could be good for Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Could be enough to protect him, plus the run game and the tight ends, keeping the defenses guessing. So could be enough to have a functional offense, unlike last season.
Well, let me ask you a question then, just while we go through, and I know you're going to probably talk about
defense next.
Yeah, I was going to say, and there's an interesting rookie. But on offense, you said a lot of positives, right? And maybe it's just the way that you described it, and you're not maybe a negative guy. But like, there's a lot of room to be optimistic on the offensive side of the ball. So a lot of people have the Jets being a little toilet again this season. But on paper, it's not actually that bad of a squad offensively from what you've gone through. Like, I mean, there's probably better rosters in the NFL, but it's not something that, I mean, your whole hat is relying on if Geno Smith can actually throw the football or not anymore. And
if the pocket can be clean, because he's a pocket passer in the end of the day, do you need to give him a bit of time? That's not going to change. Geno Smith is going to hold the ball, but I mean, the core, that's as strong as it gets, really, as a core.
Yeah.
And then, wide receiver 2 is there's a couple of gambles in there, right? Omar Cooper is a rookie. Adonai Mitchell has had like half a good season. Kenyon Sadiq is also a rookie. But it's all about raising the floor. Let's see if that's going to happen. But what was your question? Sorry.
That was it. Like, there was room to be positive. And I think you covered it as well.
Surprisingly positive.
Yeah. The defense would be interesting as well, which I know you're going to touch on also. But I think if Geno Smith has even half a decent year, maybe like the last year in Seattle, then I think the Jets could surprise some people on offense.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think the part that makes me the least optimistic about the offense is the offensive coordinator, which Frank Reich is still, like, again, experience values more here than creativity and being the most innovative coach in this sense. He just comes in and he needs to deliver with the core group that he has, and maybe he's the right one for that. But he doesn't necessarily inspire me like McDaniels, for example, does with the Chargers.
No, that's a fair enough point.
And then, let's talk about the defense, because that's the complete opposite. The core group didn't stay together. It's instead a complete reset, and which makes sense again when you think back of what I said. This is a prove it year for Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
He needs to fix the defense. He's a defensive-minded head coach, and I think he already admitted that it was wrong to give away play calling on defense last season. He gave it to his defensive coordinator, who was a young guy that he took with him from previously. But no, he took over the play calling now on defense. I think he made it top priority. Yeah. So complete reset. And they had to do something. I mean, that was historically bad. It was 31st in scoring defense, 25th in total yards allowed, most passing touchdowns allowed, and here comes the kicker, 0 interceptions, which never happened before in the NFL, I think.
Yeah, that's literally insane. Friday is a DB himself, right? So you'd have prided himself on that as well. That's crazy.
You can understand why they're saying, "Hey, Eric, Glenn, you need to sort out this defense. This is how we measure your success." So what did they do? They did a lot. So first they traded Jermaine Johnson on edge to the Titans. And instead they've got, as an exchange, Tavondre Sweat on edge. They also replaced Quincy Williams, who was one of the better pieces on that defense. They replaced him with Demario Davis.
Just like a bit of a veteran.
Exactly. He is for sure more experienced, and he's expected to be the defensive signal caller also. He's going to be the Mike linebacker, I think, the one that, kind of the quarterback of the defense. Maybe he's not anymore on that high top-level quality, but experience and leadership is what he's added. Yeah, so it's not a like-for-like replacement for Quincy Williams. But you can see here they prioritized people that can deliver now and that are experienced now and then can add leadership to the locker room. And that's what Demario Davis brings. They lost Tony Adams on safety, and they replaced him with a big name, historically big name, Minka Fitzpatrick. Then they've also added David Bailey as a rookie with the 2nd overall pick. So everyone is excited about that edge group. I think he's supposed to deliver from day one. It's a projection, but he's supposed to deliver from day one. And I think the idea is they really want to, all these changes that they made, be it on secondary or on the front 7, is they want to get bigger, more physical up front, and they want to stop the run. Yeah. That more than anything, they want to stop the run, which is a good starting point, I guess, right?
Yeah, we've got to start somewhere. Force some more passing opportunities. Maybe they get some more chances for some tip drills and maybe an interception, to be fair. It'd be interesting to see when they get the first interception this year.
Exactly, they're going to celebrate.
Crazy. Carry Aaron Glenn off the field. Like, we did it, coach. You got a pick. That's it. Season ends right there.
Exactly. But yeah, everyone out there, you have to watch David Bailey. You have to watch him. You have to respect him. So let's see what he does. He's also good against the run. Joseph Osai on the front is a bit of that veteran edge option on there. Good against the run. So you see that they want to be good against the run. Kingsley Nagbare, another good run defender here. So the idea is quite clear. And that brings me really to the key storylines for the Jets to watch this season. If you get to watch, or if you want to follow the Jets this season, what you want to watch is, can Aaron Glenn sort out the defense? That's pretty much it. If not, he's gonna, let's say last season they won 3 games. Let's say this season they win 4 games or 5 games. If the defense is still as bad as it was last season, I don't think Aaron Glenn is going to keep his job. No. If the defense is better and an actual serious football team, he might be able to keep his job, and then buy him. Basically, this season is about buying himself time for more seasons to come, and then leaving Frank Reich to sort out the offense with Geno Smith and making it just a functional offense with a higher floor than it was last season. It doesn't have to have a higher ceiling, but a higher floor.
Yeah. No, makes a lot of sense. And we talked about this before when we did a video a few months ago now about like coaches going into the season that could be on the hot seat. Aaron Glenn, I think, was really high on both of our lists.
Is there something you specifically want to see from the Jets, or do you not follow them this closely this year? What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say I want to see them as least as possible. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But I think I want to see Geno Smith ball out. Like, let him air the ball out. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're not going to be any worse than you were last season. No. Now you're in a race for maybe Arch Manning or maybe Trinidad Chambliss, whoever you like is the best quarterback coming out next year. There's going to be a race.
Yeah, but if that's the case, but if they're in a position to pick Manning next season, then Aaron Glenn won't be the head coach anymore. Pretty sure.
And that may be the case, but I think you still rest on airing the ball out. I don't know. Yes. They can be better on defense, and that'd be great. But I think the Jets fans probably deserve some sort of excitement, something to actually look forward to going into a game on a Sunday, because it has not been very excitable for them for a long time now. So
I think that's not, based on everything that I've read about Frank Reich, I think that's not going to happen. I think the run game comes first here, and the airing the ball out is more situational, where you say, sprinkle it in every here and then, but don't put the game into Geno Smith's hands. And then that's more what it looks like. Last thing that I forgot to mention, cornerbacks as a group is a bit shaky after Sauce Gardner left. They haven't really... No. Let's see what happens there, but that's a bit of a weakness at the moment.
That was the New York Jets by Shadi Rashid. And something you just said, actually, fun enough, leads me nicely into the team that I'll pick up with and run with first. So you mentioned that the run game is going to come first. I just finished watching a quick interview on YouTube with Jeff Hafley, who is the new manager or head coach of the Miami Dolphins, who we are going to talk about next. And he mentioned that Devon Achane is going to be the horse this year and is going to get worked a lot. And he was joking around with Rich Eisen about, he can come out for a play after he's had 50 or 60 carries in a game and we've driven down the ball. So I think that's a very apt transition into another team that's going to be running and also going through quite a bit of transition period, which is the Miami Dolphins. So as you can see, we have not front-loaded this video with the quality in this division, but that means if you stick around, we'll get to the good bit at the end.
Yes.
Let us know if there's anything about the Jets that you would add or disagree with on Shadi then, but I think it was pretty comprehensive of a breakdown. Now, moving south to Miami, Florida, the Dolphins are coming off another odd, disappointing season, 7-10 in 2025. But this year they have really, really, really cleaned house and started over. It is, in fact, a rebuild, but it's been a rebuild from like the absolute ground up, which I think is unique. Sometimes in a rebuild, you amend or adjust 1 or 2 pieces, but this was a lot that went away. So Mike McDaniel, who longtime meme and enjoyable coach in the NFL, is now gone. They've also moved on from Tua Tagovailoa, which is arguably bigger than Mike McDaniel, or at least on par.
Have you seen Dave? Have you seen his first preseason performances?
Yes.
Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. It seems like he's picking up where he left off.
Yeah, Tua be Tua. I think he got hit in the head one too many times, bless him. And I hope that he finds some joy. He does look good, though, I'm not going to lie, in the Falcons jersey. They got that new red on the Falcons jerseys this year, which I have a lot of time for. Falcons have one of the nicest jerseys, but so do Miami Dolphins. Anyway, they also moved on from Jalen Waddle, who was traded to the Broncos. They have brought in a brand new head coach, which is Jeff Hafley. They've also brought in a new offensive coordinator, Bobby Slowick. And Malik Willis is the new QB1 in Miami. Not to mention, they also moved away from Tyreek Hill, who had obviously had like quite a devastating injury that really did impact their season last year. And a lot of what happened to Miami last season specifically could be billed out as bad luck. It could be billed out as poorly organized or a little bit mixture of both. The reality is, I mean, we saw them play the Commanders right in Madrid, and we talked about that a couple of times. By the time they got to that game, which was maybe, it was in November, right? So probably week 15, week 14 around there. They were without Tua, they were without Tyreek Hill, and I don't think Jalen Waddle played a big part in that game either. So they were really limited. They had a couple of breakout players. I mean, they got to 7 wins, so they couldn't have been completely toilet, but they weren't as good as they thought they were going to be, and that's for darn sure. So that was a little bit of the summary kind of what happened to them last year going into the summer. The biggest kind of question, I guess, around Miami really is, was the Dolphins' problem Mike McDaniels? Was it Tua? Was the roster just not good enough? There's a lot of questions that are still open for Miami this season. Miami is another one where I would put them in a blue chip franchise scenario. They haven't got like a huge winning history as far as like Super Bowls go, especially in the modern era. But as far as like a team that a lot of people recognize the logo from, you dwell with, you relate well to the color scheme, because again, they got some cool jerseys as well. And if you've ever seen Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, you also know the Dolphins very well also. So they are a team that is nice. Go on.
Didn't they have they had one famous quarterback, right? That everyone knows.
Dan Marino.
Like a legend. Dan Marino, yeah.
Yeah.
Those were the good times, I guess, for them.
They had a couple of famous super fans. Larry Sonka comes to mind. They were coached by Jimmy Johnson for a long time. So they got, again, a lot of history coming out of this. So it's a team that I would like to see be better this season. Will they be better this year? Probably not right away, but their identity is definitely shifted. So let's start with offense. Let's start with Bobby Slowick, who is the new offensive coordinator. He brings a very different approach to Mike McDaniels. So he's very much still in the West Coast offensive side of things. So he's from the Shanahan tree, which seems like every single offensive coordinator in the entire league has just copied Shanahan, which is fair enough. It's been
not
successful.
Frank Reich. Not Frank Reich.
We'll see how long Frank Reich keeps his job for. But everyone's gone down the Shanahan route. But the Dolphins are expected to lean heavily on Devon Achane. His explosiveness, his mobility. He's not necessarily the super physical run game, but he is rapid. One of the fastest players in the NFL. And you also have Malik Willis, who can dual threats as well. So they'll probably be running a lot of option. They might be running a lot of quarterback sneaks, things like that as well. But you'll mostly likely see Devon Achane run to the outside and see if he can beat the defender around the edge, which makes sense, right? That speed is there to burn. So he's going to be a real workhorse this season. That's undoubtedly.
And they're paying him more than the Jets are paying Breece Hall. That shows you how much he probably didn't want to stick around there.
I was going to say, they had no choice, really. Like, Devon Achane was one of those players that was just, where's he going to go next? As the dominoes started to fall in the summer and Jalen went, Tua left, you knew you weren't going to re-sign Tyreek Hill. A lot of people were saying, well, they're going to blow up the whole thing. Devon Achane is probably next. Where do you think we see him going? And he stuck around, to his credit, or to his bank balance. Who knows, right? It's a nice place to live in Miami. Maybe he was really happy there. Maybe they promised him a lot. But we'll see. But he is absolutely going to be their workhorse next season. That's undoubtedly. And Jeff Hafley's pretty much already come out and said that that's going to be the case. Quarterback-wise, Malik Willis is a massive gamble. He signed a 3-year, $67.5 million deal as he left Green Bay. This is his first real chance to kind of establish himself as an NFL starter. A lot of teams were clamoring around for him. There was talks of potentially he could go to Pittsburgh, potentially he could go to a couple of different places. Miami put the bag on the table and then sold and got rid of all of their skilled positions. It's a very interesting summer. He must have, when he first looked at the team, thought they were interested in signing me. He must have thought this is a great place to go, right? I've got a good running back. Maybe I get Tyreek Hill back, legend. Got Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 1. And then all of a sudden it all broke immediately. And he walked into, don't get me wrong, a good running back, but not very much else when it came to skill positions. So I'd love to be in his head. I'd love to see how Malik Willis is feeling going in. He must be slightly confident because, again, it's his first chance to really step up and be a number 1 quarterback in this league. He's not that old. I think he's like 25 or something like this. So even after these 3 years, he's still going to have room for another contract if that's what he may want to do and if he impresses as he is supposed to. But we haven't really seen Malik Willis play an entire season from start to finish. So it's almost like they drafted a quarterback, essentially, because we have game film on him, but it is fairly limited. Yeah, and it's fairly limited in what we have. So Malik Willis is a huge gamble, but he's also a huge question mark. I hope for the kid that he has a great year and balls out and gets his big bag. And again, the Dolphins kind of come back with a plum. But we were going to have to wait and see. And no one can really predict how he's going to operate in the new offense behind Bobby Slowick and new head coach Jeff Hafley. So we're going to keep that in mind. We'll keep Malik watch on throughout the season just to see how he's getting on. But not really too much else to talk about when it comes to him, really. Defensively, Jeff Hafley coming in, he's a defensive-minded head coach. He comes in from Green Bay. So they can expect a little bit more of a physical, aggressive identity. They're probably going to be relying on a lot of the young players instead of going more for the veteran side of things. And they had older players like Bradley Chubb, for example, was in Miami last year. Fun fact about Bradley Chubb is I saw his mother and wife leaving the hotel in Madrid, which basically means we're best mates. So shout out to you, Bradley Chubb. I'm surprised he's not watching this actually based off that information. But it's interesting again to see a bit of a more alignment on defense. I'll get to some big pickups they made in the draft actually that will align a little bit more to their defensive strategy. And I think it's their draft class was pretty good. So I'm excited to talk about that in a second. What else are we going to go to now? Developmental rebuild. So Troy Aikman, who is a name that you might know, who was a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys for many years, is working with the Dolphins as a consultant and came out and not famously, but has said that they're not expected to be very good this year. So I think a lot of people in the organization, they are not expecting, like you mentioned with the Jets, to change the world or reignite the flames of old. But they are trying to raise their floor and understand what their ceiling could be. Right? I think a lot of times in these rebuilds, potential grows as the team gets better. Right now, I think their floor is bad, right? People are projecting 3, 4, maybe wins. And if you look at their roster and you go down the line, they could easily finish 0-17. It's not going to be crazily unheard of, but they want to obviously see what that floor looks like with this new organization. So 7 wins last year. I do not expect them to get back to that number this year, nor do they expect for them to get back to that number last year. But they also can't be much worse. Last year they finished 25th in points scored and 24th in points allowed. So they're just going to be trying to do little things that they can to work on some of those situations. A couple of things that not scares me, but I think on offense are a little bland. The wide receiver room is, apart from Jalen Tolbert and Tutu Atwell, who are a couple of veterans that they brought in, it's a very unknown wide receiver room. So I don't know who Malik Willis is going to be throwing to. A lot of people are really liking this guy, Caleb Douglas, who came out the 3rd round from Texas Tech, who would probably start as wide receiver 2. I can't remember it now, and I didn't look at this up before, but it's Mike Gesicki. Oh, he's gone now. He's long gone. So no more Dougieing in the end zone from Mike Gesicki. So there's going to be a couple of interesting pieces to that offense, and I don't know how well it's going to gel. But again, the vibe overall is not for them to be world beaters. It's just for them to step up a little bit more. On their draft class side of things, this is where I think overall they got like I think it was a B+, maybe even an A-, depending on how you look at it, from their draft class. So they had 2 first-round picks. They drafted Caden Proctor, the big offensive lineman from Alabama. Again, it's going to help with the run. It's going to help secure Malik Willis up a little bit also. They did trade back into the first round and got Chris Johnson, who is an exciting corner out of San Diego. A few other big names that they got as well. Jacob Rodriguez, who is a middle linebacker from Texas Tech, who was well thought of in college, and I'm surprised he slipped to the 2nd round. And Michael Taft, who is a safety, also from the University of Texas. He slipped all the way to, I think, like the 5th round or something crazy like that. But a lot of people were really high on him as well coming out of school. Fun fact, they also got in the 5th round Seydou Traore, who actually is, if I'm not mistaken, and I followed this story on Twitter correctly, he's of Irish descent, or he is from Ireland, or some link to the United Kingdom in some way. I can't remember.
It says English professional American football player.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I saw something. There's a guy on, I think it's Weller Sports. Shout out to Weller Sports.
Was raised in London.
Yeah, who does some of these stories on like the UK relatable people that were in the draft, and his was a name that was mentioned. I think obviously going in the 5th round is a pretty good turnaround, considering he probably didn't start playing football for a long time ago. But he had soft hands and apparently was a goalkeeper back in the day when he was playing normal football, which is interesting. So yeah, so a really good draft class. So it's going to be a really, really interesting team. It's going to be a very different look in Miami than it has been the last couple of years. They obviously stuck their neck out with Mike McDaniel and Tua for a good amount of time, but that ship just never found the right course. So now it's a time of like, let's rip it up and rebuild. I think Jeff Hafley is going to get a few years or a couple years at least to sink his teeth really into this team. They need to replace some skill positions. They need to see how good Malik Willis is going to be. But I think that's pretty much the case for them right now. So
yeah,
I'll wrap it up there. 2026 Dolphins, complete reset, big quarterback gamble, big, massive, ginormous question mark.
Yeah. I would say they remind me a bit, and I will treat them a bit this season like the Titans 2-3 years ago, where you look at the roster and you think, is this even like who on this roster is NFL level? And they might have on paper the weakest roster of the NFL this season. So not sure how many Dolphins games I'm going to watch. Let's see. Yeah, probably not one of the more intriguing. They might be more intriguing in the next couple of years, but this season, the most intriguing storyline, like you say, is probably Malik Willis.
I agree. Malik Willis, new coaching staff, but we'll see. Yeah. And you let us know in the comments as well if you think the Dolphins have a chance or if you think they're going to be just as toilet as they have been the last few seasons. So let's keep it rolling. So we've got, like I said, maybe the lower 50% of this division done. Now at least we get to finish with some big boys. Shadi, where are we going next?
Going to New England for the Patriots. Nice. Interesting for a lot of European followers out there. I guess a lot of people started watching American football with Tom Brady in his big dynasty that he created with the Patriots, Bill Belichick. So it's not my case, by the way. I kind of joined after that whole generation. So I don't have that much emotional attachment to the New England Patriots.
Yep.
But hey, it's going to be interesting for a lot of people out there if they can get back to success, because what they did last season was exceptional. The season before last season, they went 4-13. Then Mike Vrabel took over and he immediately brought them to the Super Bowl. Didn't win the Super Bowl, but entered the Super Bowl. Won 14 games, so went 14-3 in 2025. And that's under the first season under the new head coach. So really, really exceptional, this stuff. And he raised the bar of what you can do with the Patriots quite high. Like the expectations are through the roof now with Drake May as quarterback. And a couple of interesting offseason moves that they made. Not much of note happened this offseason with the Patriots compared to the Jets earlier, where the whole defense was reorganized. But the storyline is a bit about Drake May entering his 3rd year now, Mike Vrabel entering his 2nd year, coming off that whole Diana Rossini off the field, cheating on his wife, disaster. He kept his job. Do you think, Dave, this is going to have any impact on their success this season, or is it going to be off the field issues and that's it?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how some of the players may be looking at him a bit funnier than they used to before. Like, he's going to get some beef when he goes to stadiums and they're going to hold up some signs. But I mean, if they kept him now, like, you're not going to go back on it now and fire him because of that. Like, they've made that bet. They are obviously quite happy to stay with him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to have much of an impact, let's say. Unless, of course, they're not successful, then everyone in the media is going to make it all about that. And they're falling off because of what happened off the field and I don't know what. But that was a big storyline this offseason. Now, we're looking at the new season and we're looking at if they can improve on what they did last season. They don't necessarily need to repeat exactly the same, but they need to improve some things. We've seen in the playoffs that they have limits at the moment, that defenses are able to stop Drake May, and that Drake May and the O-line especially are struggling against your Broncos defenses or Seahawks defenses, this kind of level. So they need to improve on that, and they did some offseason moves to tackle that. The skeptical case, I guess, would be that 2025 was just an outlier. Drake May is not a top 8 quarterback, and they're going to finish, I don't know, they're not even making the playoffs. So it's a bit of a wild season for them coming up. Let's look at the offense. Just briefly, let me summarize the identity that they're playing in offense. It's their coordinator is Josh McDaniels. And what they've done last season is a very physical offense. So they established the run game first and then used the run game to create the passing game afterwards. A bit similar to what I said earlier, what I want to see with, or what the Jets are trying to do maybe this season. Yeah, run the game first and then play situational football where Drake May then sometimes punishes that the defense respects the run too much. It's quite an adaptable offense, so they're very even between between the different schemes and offenses that they're playing and different plays that they're doing. And it is quite quarterback friendly. Good for Drake May. They use a lot of motion and play action and moving pockets and whatnot to help Drake May as much as possible, at least last season.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens this season. They have been playing quite aggressive because Drake May has a good arm and he's a good scrambler as well. So it allowed them to really set the baseline with the run game and then allow Drake May to play aggressive, which worked really well for them. I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl. But like I said earlier, Drake May was struggling a bit in the playoffs. And that's what they kind of have to fix in offense this season, because they had an easy schedule that helped them. They didn't play against good defenses. And when they played against good defenses in the playoffs, then they struggled. Drake May was a lot under pressure. I think he was, what was it? Second most pressured quarterback after Justin Herbert. If that continues in the playoffs 2026, if they make it to the playoffs, then I doubt that they make it to the Super Bowl again, let's say. They were lucky a bit also that they who they played. And that was a big part of their success. Let's look not only at Drake May, but also at the receivers. This is where the main stuff happened this offseason, right? Yeah. They lost Stephon Diggs, who, I mean, he's turning 32 now, is a bit older, but he's still a very productive receiver. He had still a 1,000-yard season, still 4 touchdowns, and still a very, very rock-solid, even good season, I would say. So they lost a very good receiver. But then they've got, this offseason, Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown, the big one. So A.J. Brown as this kind of, coming from the Eagles after all that beef, we talked about it previously. Listen, I mean, if you have A.J. Brown in your team, he gives you what they maybe have been lacking last year in the playoffs, where now they have a clear number one receiver that they can go, if he's one-on-one, you throw the ball to him and he will win you the ball. You don't have to scheme him free. You don't have to have creative play calling to get the ball to him. You just throw the ball to him and he's going to, 50% of the time or maybe more, he's going to catch it, which is a great outlet to have. And Romeo Doubs is also a very big-bodied outside receiver, which is weird. Now they have 2 of these kind of this profile of receivers. Yeah. I even heard something interesting where they were saying maybe it's even Romeo Doubs who will become the ex-receiver, playing the outside, and A.J. Brown becoming the volume slot receiver, going back to his Titans days, because he used to play like that with the Titans, and only with the Eagles he started to play as the outside threat. So it could be interesting.
Yeah. I think he's got I wonder if he's still got the hands for it. I mean, that was the only down mark on him last year, that there was a couple of drop passes. You're going to be catching slants in traffic. You have to be able to catch the ball. Like I said, Devontae Smith to run that in Philadelphia. So, but the nice thing is you can line him up in a bunch of different places. You have to attend to A.J. Brown. And this is not a case of Jalen Hurts where he's not going to throw the ball more than 5 yards. Like Drake May will launch that puppy. So you have to go and get in, and you have to be aware of them.
Exactly. Defenses have to respect that now, which means they cannot stuff the run as easily as they did in the playoffs last season, which is when they started to, when the good defenses started to figure out how the Patriots play. Yeah. So you can definitely see that they identified those problems that I was talking about and did the right moves to fix them on paper. Last receiver, just so that he's mentioned, is Demario Douglas. He's clearly like the wide receiver 3 and more of a slot receiver. So a lot of option routes, motion routes, underneath concepts. That's what he's going to be used for. Running back is an interesting one for me personally, because I've got Ramondre Stevenson in my fantasy team.
So that means it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, probably. They have a quite even split between Ramondre Stevenson, who's the veteran, and Trevon Henderson, who had a surprisingly good, I think it was his rookie season, if I'm not completely wrong, and was used more than people expected. So he's ahead of his trajectory. At the moment, it looks like we're going to see the same as last season on running back, 50-50 split kind of. Ramondre Stevenson as your power back, your lead back, someone who you will use for short yardage, for early downs, or even on goal line. And then Trevon Henderson more as this explosive running back that gives you the yards in open space. So a very even, interesting running back room that gives you a lot of options, I would say. Wide receiver room was the most interesting one to talk about on offense, but O-line is also interesting. Drake May was the second most pressured quarterback last season. That needs to change. And the O-line was actually all right during the regular season, but then in the playoffs, the left side of the O-line especially, it's a very young side, that side was struggling. And the left side is usually the side that gets attacked more because that's where you have the strong edge rusher coming from. You have there Will Campbell on left tackle. I think a lot of people have followed the narrative that he was struggling a lot in the playoffs, and he did.
Yeah.
And then you had Jared Wilson on left guard, who was also struggling, and both of these are young. So to fix this, they've got Elijah Vera Tucker in from the New York Jets, who on paper has a high ceiling, but he was injured all last season with a triceps injury. A bit, yeah. I mean, he missed the whole season, so let's see how he comes back. But the plan is now that Vera Tucker will take over on the left side on left guard, which should then also help Will Campbell on left tackle.
Yep.
And you move Jared Wilson, who was struggling on left guard, back to his actual position, which is center. I mean, imagine he's a rookie on center, and then he plays out of position as well on left guard, so he didn't have a great season.
It's tough.
And then the right side of the offensive line, we don't have to talk about that much because it's just there's some veterans there, and they're good. So O-line, on paper, again, if they can stay healthy, should be better. And if they are better, then hopefully Drake May is not going to be pressured that much, has more time, and can then throw the ball to A.J. Brown. It's going to be cool.
Pitchy catch.
Yes. I mean, the big question here really on offense is, for me, can Drake May make that step to be... Look, okay, this sounds wrong because they made it into the Super Bowl, but I think they were quite lucky to make it to the Super Bowl, to be honest.
Yeah.
If they want to repeat that, Drake May needs to step up again, reach another level where he can perform well under pressure, or he gets pressured less. One of those two things need to happen, pretty much. No, that's the main storyline that I'm going to watch on offense this season.
With the big number one alpha receiver, there's not a lot of excuse left. So I agree. It's exciting to see. And see if it wasn't a fluke last year either.
That's the thing. As well as they need to be more versatile again. Like I mentioned in the beginning, their plan was quite simple. Run the ball. Once the run game has been established, then let Drake May throw his bombs every now and then. It needs to be more versatile than that in 2026. And that's the expectation when you have A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs in there as well. So that's what we're going to watch. Defense, let's move on to that part. Yeah, that part of the team is much less interesting, I would say. I have much less to say about that part. It's one of the, to keep it short, I think it's one of the, it could be a top 10 defense going into the new season. They haven't changed much. So the only really big loss is, let me try to pronounce this right, K'Lavon Chaisson. K'Lavon, yeah. He was the best edge, pretty much, and they lost him. He was quite productive. And they lost Tyrus Tonga, their nose tackle, so kind of important against the run. And what they've added instead is Dremont Jones, who's a more experienced veteran edge, very similar to what I said about the Jets earlier, trying to fix the issue with experience. And they drafted, I think they traded up to draft Gabe Jacobs on 55th overall. So they've clearly seen that they need to have more edge depth, and they've tried to fix it by getting that rookie in, and by, let's say, they changed the edge profile a bit to be stronger against the run, not only against the pass. That's what's happening here, because they need to be stronger against the run. Other than that, everything stays more or less the same. The interior is one of the best in the league. The defensive tackles, they're very good. So a lot of hope, or a lot of optimistic things happening here. And especially on secondary, they have one of the best cornerback rooms, maybe top 3 cornerback rooms in the league, in the whole NFL, with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis III. So that secondary on cornerback, that gives you a lot of options to sort out the front. So not much more to say on defense. Nothing much has changed. The defense was solid last year, should be even better this year. Could be a top 10, maybe even top 5 defense. Let's see. But the one thing that I need to mention actually is they got Kevin Byard in as a safety, another veteran.
Yeah, a lot of interceptions last year as well.
He had the most interceptions in the league last year, 7 interceptions, and he's a veteran. I mean, they've let their other safety go afterwards, so they got Byard in and chose to let Hawkins go, who had a kind of breakout year last season, which again shows you that, yes, Hawkins was on an ascending form. He was playing very good on safety last season. I think he was, by PFF grade, he was 5th best safety last season, Hawkins. But they let him go, and they instead said, no, we're going to get a ball-hawking veteran someone that we know that can deliver this, because we are in a win now window, and we're going to trust that more than our one safety that had one good season now, which is an interesting signal as well.
It's a roll of the dice, but it doesn't shock me. I think they are looking to win right now. I mean, they were right there on the precipice. So I think you take a look at it, right? Some franchises say, okay, we were lucky to be there. We need to retool, or hey, why? There's no reason why we can't do it again. So everyone's going to be a little bit better this year as well. You think Chiefs are going to be better, Ravens, Bills, all these other teams that are around them might get a little bit better. So let's just try and run it back. AJ Brown is a huge up, though. Even if they kept the exact same team as last year and added AJ Brown, a lot of people would still have them really high on that list. So that's a big marquee signing, you know.
And I mean, they stay consistent. They stay consistent as well. They have the same coordinator room, which means a lot in this division. I mean, every other team has changed everything. Yeah, they've stayed consistent. Their defense stuck together. Most of the parts from last season are still there, which sometimes consistency is key. And to be honest, last week I was joking around a lot about how I thought Broncos are going to be boring and I don't like talking about them. And then I actually learned that I liked talking about them. Yeah. Patriots is what I thought Broncos are going to be. They were quite boring to research, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I am. It's funny, actually, and it leads me nicely on to the last thing we're going to talk about. I thought the same with the Dolphins. Once I got into it, they've had quite a lot of roster movements, but once you get into like the philosophy, there's so many question marks that just raise more questions and more things to talk about. I am going to finish up here with the Buffalo Bills. So thank you, Shats, for breaking down the Pats. Again, let us know if you have anything else to add or subtract about the Patriots this season. Where do you think they're going to finish? Do you think fluke, or do you think they're going to bounce back? I've had the same conversation with some Broncos fans recently who are not sure if it was a fluke or if they're going to be good again. I think the Pats are very similar, in my opinion, to that team there. A lot of similarities. Young quarterback, really good skill positions, good defenses. But was it luck of the draw because the big heads weren't playing good last year, or are they actually really legit? We will see.
Exactly. If they play more, we've seen more of who they really were in the playoffs when they played excellent defenses. Yeah. If they're going to play more excellent defenses in regular season this season, which they will, let's see how they deal with it. They have to prove us wrong. But go ahead, please.
You can tune in right here to see if we were right or wrong as we progress through the season. So finishing up with Buffalo Bills, as I said I would, and that is exactly what we're going to do. So Buffalo is in a very interesting position and have been for the last couple of years of being bottle jobs, which for those of you who are not from the US means that you tend to panic or flail when put in situations of high pressure. Now, I am an Arsenal fan for my sins, and I have felt this pain for 3 seasons previous to the last one when we finally won our championship. But the Buffalo Bills are in a very, very interesting position, right? They are and have been a contender for the Super Bowl for the last 3 or 4 years, but they just are always the bridesmaid and never seem to be the bride. This season, once again, they were knocked out by the Broncos in quite an exciting match, 33-30 in the divisional round, but they should have beat that Broncos team on paper and unfortunately broke down in the offseason a little bit as well with a lot of movement. So Sean McDermott, who had been there a long time, and actually, he was fired quite unceremoniously, even though he's got them to the playoffs. I can't remember the exact number, but in many consecutive seasons. They promoted Joe Brady to head coach, and they brought in a couple of new coordinators, which we'll get to in a minute. The team very much still revolves around Josh Allen being the regular season god that he is, but can they do it in the playoffs is the big question. And what moves did they make in this offseason to get them a little step closer? So let's start on the offense and who is the new OC in Buffalo. So Joe Brady will hand that role over to Pete Carmichael, who brings, again, a little bit more experience on this side of the things. I think the interesting thing about this division as a whole, the AFC East, is they haven't gone with like loads of youth when it comes to OCs, head coaches. They brought in a lot of veterans into this division, which again could make it old and stale, or it could make it really new and exciting. We'll have to see how that goes, right?
I think that's because a lot of these coaches are under pressure. I mean, Joe Brady was in the previous regime already, right? So he's he's kind of associated to what previously happened, and he could be one and done as well. So a lot of these Aaron Glenn and Joe Brady, they're both under pressure. So it's understandable that they hire experienced coordinators, right?
Adults. They brought adults into the room, right? I think that's the phrase I keep using, but it doesn't always mean your adult might be a drunk. Like I said, he might be a drunk uncle who ain't got a shit clue what's going on, but they appear to be doing the right things. They appear to be getting the right brains around them. The fun fact about Pete Carmichael, who previously worked with Joe Brady in New Orleans, but Pete Carmichael was the offensive coordinator for the Saints for 15 years, which is such a long time period to be an OC. And it's not like the Saints had some crazy
through multiple head coaches, yeah? So he didn't go together with the head coaches?
No, he just was there. Unless my research was wrong, he'd just been there he'd been in the organization for a total of like 16 years in total, but he's just been, he's just been there. They obviously have a stellar run game. So James Cook enters into this season as the reigning NFL rushing leader. He had 1,600 yards in 2025 and became like a genuine offensive centerpiece rather than kind of like a complimentary back, which is what he'd been seen in his career. But Josh Allen must have loved that, to see him emerge as a real true number one running back. The more less pressure on Josh Allen, the more pressure that's shared around the team, the less pressure that is on Josh Allen, which means you have to respect the run. You cannot just blitz Josh Allen anymore and try and get him to the ground and force him to run out of the pocket. You have to respect James Cook as well. So we'll be interesting to see if he has another season like that again. They did bring in some new weapons. One of the big question marks around Buffalo was, do they have enough in the wide receiver room?
The biggest question since multiple years, by the way.
Yeah,
not only last season.
Did. Yeah. Ever since they left or broke up with Stephon Diggs, and even a little bit before then as well, it was a question of, does Josh Allen have a number one receiver to throw to, or does he have a bunch of number twos and threes that he has to make better? They went out and got DJ Moore, which was big headline addition. We talked about it a little bit in a short on TikTok and Instagram. So if you're not following us there, make sure you are following us there. But Buffalo traded a second round pick for DJ Moore. He reunites with Joe Brady again after playing under him in Carolina. Moore has 4 career 1,000 yards seasons, except his last season was just around 700, and will primarily be Josh Allen's new number one target. The question I'll ask you here, Shads, before we go into the rest of this, is there was a bunch of receivers on the market this year, right? You had, I'm just going to pick Mike Evans and A.J. Brown. Let's just say those two for sure. Do you think that DJ Moore for that second round pick was the best thing that they could have done? And they did it early, by the way. It's not like they did this last minute. They did it quite early. So they were obviously after DJ Moore. But what did you think about that when you heard that pickup?
I didn't like it. I wanted to see A.J. Brown. That was, for me, it was a no-brainer almost. I wanted to see him there, and how cool would it have been to see A.J. Brown with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But DJ Moore, yeah. Again, not a very inspiring addition. Like, he gives you your 700 to above 1,000 yards for sure. Yeah. Like maybe 1,200, something like that. But is he going to be the one that you're going to throw the ball to in the playoffs? He's in double coverage and you throw the ball to him? I'm not so sure.
No, and it's interesting for me as well because they had Khalil Shakir last season, right? I think they had Gabe Davis as well, who'd moved on. But like Shakir for me is like that kind of gadget receiver. Yes. So DJ Moore kind of, for me, fits into that. He's not like a true outside wide receiver. He's not like got the massive height. Yes, he's got the pace that can beat you downfield and he'll catch some balls over the middle. But I thought it'd be a nice juxtaposition to have like a Mike Evans or someone like that who's just kind of long and really stretches the field out. Especially seeing as they got, again, James Cook, who you've got to respect. Dawson Knox, the tight end who re-signed, you've got to respect him. James Cook can run, right? So Josh Allen can run, so you've got to respect him running out the backfield as well. I just feel like they could have done something a little bit more, not intelligent, because they're NFL people. They've got to be somewhat intelligent. But yeah, I'm going to use the word intelligent because it doesn't seem like the smartest pick that you needed. You know what I mean? But
I wonder if Joe Brady was the OC, right?
Yeah.
The offensive coordinator. And now he's the head coach. Yeah, and he was, over all these years, since Stephon, even with Stephon Diggs, they were not really known for having these big-bodied ex-receivers, your A.J. Brown or whatever. I don't know what other name. You could Mike Evans, you already mentioned.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is just the philosophy of Joe Brady, to say we don't need this kind of receiver and we just have 3 kind of gadgety receivers and the rest we do through the run game and through Josh Allen. I don't know. Because they made, like you said, they made the decision very early. So they must have been super convinced by that. It was not like we're scraping for whoever is left in the market or something like this.
No. Or they just wanted to get something for cheap-ish. I mean, the second round pick in today's market isn't terrible, but we'll see. Offensively, they are going to be an interesting team once again because they've got Josh Allen. They re-signed Connor McGovern, who's their star center, to a 4-year big deal, $52 million. And like I said, they re-signed Dawson Knox as well. Offensively, they're going to be very similar because they have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a top 3 QB in this league in the regular season, undoubtedly. So anytime you have a player of that quality, this is why you can never count the Chiefs out. You never really count the Ravens out, because when you have quarterback talent of that level, you're okay to say the rest of it can be a little shaky as long as we have that guy under center. So for the regular season, I still think they're going to be class. I have no beef with them at all on offense. The DJ Moore makes them better, but just not the massive step that they probably could have made had they have gone somewhere else when it comes to wide receiver. Defensively, they are another new-looking team here as well. So new DC, Jim Leonhard, who played for the Broncos. I think he was a safety back in the day. He brings in a major schematic change. So Buffalo previously operated primarily under the 4-3 nickel structure. So to break that down, they had 4 defensive linemen and then 3 linebackers and 4 DBs. But sometimes an extra linebacker would drop back and there would actually be a defensive back. So they'd have 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs in a nickel situation. So Leonard is installing a more flexible 3-4 base. So you have 3 down linemen and you have your 4 linebackers, which makes them more aggressive and versatile, right? Because now your outside linebackers can come down and they can rush the quarterback, or they can drop back in coverage, along with the 2 linebackers that you have playing middle linebacker as well. They really need to conjure up a pass rush. I think this is where they struggled last season. And if you look at them, how much points they gave up to the Broncos, for example, in the playoffs.
Yeah, that was crazy. 30 points against the 33 with overtime. That's crazy.
That's tough, dude. And they
was
finished
one of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL, of the successful ones. So
yeah, exactly that. And they finished right in the middle of the pack when it came to total sacks. So 16th is where they finished, and no one on the team had over 8 sacks. So I imagine a lot of what Jim Leonhard is going to be trying to do this year, again, is get them attacking the quarterback, get them into a point where you're scared to play them. They brought in some, again, real veterans on defense as well. So Bradley Chubb comes in. Talking about Bradley Chubb. Remember that time I saw your mother and your wife in a hotel in Madrid? Anyway. Not in a weird way. That sounds odd now when you clip it up. I walked past them.
Did you take secret photos of them? Or?
No, they were entering their official NFL transit to the game, and I passed them in the street. Anyway, but Bradley Chubb comes in, signed a decent chunk of a deal. Did 3 years, $43 million, 29 of it was guaranteed. Again, he's there to rush the passer. That's going to be his only job in Buffalo. They signed CJ Gardner-Johnson, who is a safety, along with Geno Stone. Both of those are veteran players, both on 1-year deals. D. Alford comes back. And they also did re-sign DeMar Hamlin as well, which is cool. If you all recall, he was the man who partially died on the football field and came back to life. They did also have a couple of draft class pickups as well when it comes to defense. So TJ Parker is an outside linebacker from Clemson, who again was a big of a disruptive edge defender. He had 39 career college tackles for loss. Again, aids what they want to try and do on defense. Davison Igbinorson, whose name I think I completely butchered, is a big-bodied corner out of Ohio State. They picked him up in the second round as well, and a couple of other defensive picks down the line. So definitely change their identity. I think what they're going to try to do is be really aggressive on defense, see if they can lower the point scoring. Because like I said at the top of this, I do not care if you made no adjustments to the offense this year. Josh Allen is still going to Josh Allen. That offense is still going to click. But defensively, can you at least halt the scoring, right? We saw this with the Rams last year. You can score a lot of points, but if you can't stop the opposition scoring, eventually you're going to hit a brick wall. And usually it happens in the playoffs. So Josh Allen is a regular season king. They have not had great game plans or great games in the playoffs. This is the season where we finally see if he can make the step up and be the man that everyone thinks he's going to be. And is Joe Brady the guy with the keys to that car? So that's pretty much it for the Bills. Like I said, there's not too many other things to add. They are just as good as we think they are, maybe even better, but they need to be able to do it in the playoffs. What do you think, Shad? Is this, how confident now? You've been around football let's say 5 years solidly, right? 5, 6 years with great eyes on it. Probably since then, Buffalo have been there or thereabouts, but not there or not thereabouts. So do you still have faith in them year on year, or are you surprised that Josh Allen is Josh Allening? How do you feel about them?
I'm surprised about Joe Brady, about them sticking with Joe Brady and not saying we're firing Sean McDermott and we're starting from scratch. Instead, they're going with the same OC that was there over the last few years that basically is responsible for what we've seen over the last few years.
Yeah, literally.
And what we have been seeing is a lot of Josh Allen heroics. But why do you always have to rely on Josh Allen heroics? Doesn't really speak for the scheme for me. So
or is it a scheme?
Not very... Sorry?
Like, or is it a scheme? Like, is the scheme just like, hey, it's fine. We got number, was it number 11? We got 11 back there. He'll be fine. Like, he can sort it out. Or 17. He's not number 11.
That's what I mentioned earlier with... We asked this question, why didn't they go for AJ Brown or a true number one receiver? And we said, hey, maybe it's because that's their offensive idea. I don't really like that offensive idea, to be honest. So I'm not very optimistic about it. I've looked it up, by the way, and Joe Brady, he dubbed his own philosophy as everybody eats. So it makes kind of sense that he doesn't go for a number one receiver, right? But at the end of the day, if you always have to rely on Josh Allen, that's not enough. No, I'm not optimistic.
No, it makes sense. And that's it again for the Bills. I think there's a team that we'll be talking about well into the season. I think they're a team we'll be talking about in the playoffs. Again, it's just can they make this step up? And that's the only thing I think that holds their season in high regard or another poor season. They are the true definition of Super Bowl or bust. And I think that is what we're going to be watching out for this year. So that wraps us up on the AFC East. We have covered the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills, and the Patriots. Let us know in the comments if you agree, disagree, or think there's any storylines that we are missing. Last quick fire round, we are going to place these teams where we think they're going to finish. And I think, Shads, this might be the first time that we have the same rankings, but I'm interested to see. You went first to start with today, so I'm going to go first right now to pick the 4, and then we're going to wrap it up from there. Coming in at number 4, no surprise, I have the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I think they will be worse than the Jets. Close third, I have the Jets, who I think are going to be slightly better than the Miami Dolphins, but not by much. This is when it gets interesting, the top 2. Now, I can't tell all the words I did about Josh Allen just now and then have this man come in second in this division. I think the Patriots will finish second. I think Josh Allen will win this division. He will be heralded, another MVP season. They'll probably win 13 games. And then the rest we will absolutely see. But I've got it as the Dolphins, the Jets, the Pats, and the Bills.
Interesting. Okay. I've got, no surprises, Dolphins last. I think it has potential to be the worst team in the NFL as a whole and strong potential to get the number 1 pick in 2027. Tank for Arch. Not tank for Tua, tank for Arch.
Yeah.
Then the Jets, I think they're going to get better. I hope actually that they're going to get better. They have all the potential there. They have a good, solid foundation. So maybe they get up to 7 wins or something like that. Could be. I have them as much better as the Dolphins, to be honest, in my mind. Then the Bills. I think this is the season where it all comes crashing down. They haven't changed enough things, in my mind, to get out of their routine of what they've been doing for the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they went 12-5 last season in a division where you have basically 4 wins guaranteed by playing against the Jets and the Dolphins. And they lost 1 time against the Dolphins, by the way. But still, I think this is where it all comes crashing down. You cannot rely always on your heroic quarterback to save your season. And then the Patriots, they're just overall such a solid team on offense, on defense. They didn't have any changes on the staff, which is very important to me. I place high priority on that.
Yep.
The staff stays the same. They have continuity, consistency. Added AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs. I think the last season might have been a fluke. I think the next season is probably not as successful as last season, but they're definitely going to finish this first in this division.
Well, fair enough. And I can't argue with that.
And I think the Bills don't make the playoffs.
The Bills don't make the playoffs.
Yes.
That's a bold statement. I think that might be the most clippable thing that we said all day today that can get pulled out in a future video.
I'm serious. They haven't done enough moves for me. You can't always rely on your quarterback to fix everything for you. I mean, you're 1 injury away from a disaster, pretty much.
From complete and utter... Well, you're 1 injury away from being Kansas City last year.
Yeah,
That's the most apt representation where you had everything on somebody's shoulders that somebody didn't show up to work the next day and everything was completely sideways. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. I would never say never, especially in the National Football League, from my side, that would be a crazy thing to happen, though. That would be a big season storyline if that did happen. So lots of topics to go on there. Interesting division. At the same time, it can also be a bit of a stinker. We will wait and see. Again, let us know in the comments if you disagree or agree, if there's anything else you would add. Make sure you are liked and subscribed on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you get any sort of social news. I'm pretty sure we're there as well. We appreciate you, as always. Shads, I definitely appreciate your effort and your attention. We are going to continue our breakdown of the divisions next week, so watch out on socials for who that is going to be. And we will catch you next week.